Freedom of worship in the Bible emphasizes the spiritual liberty believers have in approaching God without constraints imposed by human authority. Scriptures such as 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verses 17 affirm this, stating, "Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom." This freedom enables believers to worship God sincerely and personally, guided by faith and a desire to honor Him. It underscores the absence of a need for intermediaries or rituals to connect with God, as seen in Ephesians chapter 3 verses 12. This biblical concept encourages genuine, heartfelt worship as an expression of faith and relationship with God, rather than a mere adherence to external rules or traditions. However, in other nations and countries, this freedom is unheard of. Christian worshippers are met with severe punishment, even death penalties. The Chinese government is wary of religion for several reasons. China is officially an atheist state and Communist Party members are banned from believing in or practicing any faith. There is concern that religion can function as an alternative to communism and thus undermine loyalty to the government. The government views conversion as an attempt by the West to undermine Islam and the Islamic government of Iran. This means that anyone who is discovered to be a member of a house church can be charged with a crime against national security, which can lead to long prison sentences. Thus, the need for underground churches. Underground churches in Iran and China operate under severe government sanctions and face intense persecution due to their religious activities. Iran is a country known for its strict adherence to Islamic law, which makes practicing any religion other than Islam difficult, especially for Christians. Despite the challenges, the underground church in Iran has been growing over the past few decades, and it is shaping the future of the church in this restricted country. The underground church in Iran comprises a network of secret Christian believers who gather in homes, in small groups, and online. They do not have access to church buildings, and they often worship in secrecy to avoid persecution. Iranian authorities view Christianity as a threat to their Islamic regime, and Christians who openly express their faith face arrest, torture, and even death. Despite the risks, the underground church in Iran is thriving. Estimates suggest that there are currently between 300,000 to 1 million Christians in Iran, most of whom are part of the underground church. This growth can be attributed to several factors. Firstly, the underground church in Iran has a strong sense of community. Christians in Iran face many challenges, including social isolation, discrimination, and persecution. The underground church provides a sense of belonging and support to believers who might otherwise feel alone. Secondly, the underground church in Iran is innovative in finding ways to connect with other believers and spread the gospel. They use social media, satellite TV, and other online platforms to connect with each other and share the good news of Jesus Christ. This has been particularly important during the COVID-19 pandemic, which has made physical gatherings impossible. Thirdly, the underground church in Iran is committed to discipleship and training new leaders. Christian leaders in Iran face significant risks, and there is a shortage of trained pastors and teachers. The underground church has taken on the responsibility of training new leaders and helping them to grow in their faith. Growth and persecution. The underground church in Iran is part of a growing network of secret Christian communities that must operate in secrecy to avoid severe persecution. As Christianity spreads, the Iranian government feels increasingly out of control, which has led to intensified persecution. The government actively cracks down on Christians, especially converts from Islam, viewing them as a threat to the state. This persecution includes arrests, torture, and long prison sentences for those caught practicing their faith or evangelizing. Renewed crackdowns. Recent reports indicate that the Iranian government has launched a renewed crackdown on Christian communities. This crackdown is part of the broader strategy to suppress religious freedom and prevent the spread of Christianity within the country. The situation remains dire for Christians in Iran, who must continue to practice their faith in secret to avoid persecution. A newly implemented directive from the Chinese government forces Protestant house churches and Catholic underground communities to seek guidance from recognized religious organizations. A notification from the State Administration for Religious Affairs, issued earlier this month, requires organizers of religious activities at temporary sites to also apply for a permit that is valid for 3 years, Catholic news website dìxià reported. According to Professor Ng Fuxing, director of the Divinity School at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, these recognized religious organizations include the China Christian Council and the National Committee of the Three Self-Patriotic Movement, which are known in China as the jiàohuì, or two organizations. The directive has caused fear among the underground communities that they will come under greater control, according to dìxià. It is well known that many house churches are reluctant to register and are willing to be an illegal organization because they do not want to be under the two organizations, Professor Fuxing wrote on his Facebook page. There is now a heightened sense that a breach of regulations will be met by some form of warning, increased surveillance, or punishment. Certainly, most churches feel it is time to take extra precautions, to downsize or maybe even relocate some of their ministries. There is now a heightened sense that a breach of regulations will be met by some form of warning, increased surveillance, or punishment. Certainly, most churches feel it is time to take extra precautions, to downsize or maybe even relocate some of their ministries. The notification follows revised religious regulations in February, which spelled out criteria that religious organizations have to meet in order to be registered or to establish a place for religious activities. State control and repression. In China, the government exerts strict control over religious practices, especially targeting Protestant house churches and Catholic underground communities that refuse to align with state-approved religious bodies. These underground churches must operate clandestinely to avoid government interference, which includes harassment, raids, and forced closures. Increased restrictions. The Chinese government has implemented new directives forcing underground churches to seek guidance from state-sanctioned religious organizations, effectively curbing their autonomy. This is part of a broader strategy to integrate all religious practices under state control and suppress any religious activity that is perceived as a challenge to the Communist Party's authority. These underground churches in both Iran and China continue to thrive despite government sanctions, driven by a strong commitment to their faith. You and I have been given the freedom of worship anytime. Do we use this opportunity to build one another and each other into the family of Jesus Christ? Let us all pray for those going through hardship in search of truth. Shalom and God bless you.